Hi, Mrs. Smith. Thanks for coming today and welcome to the conference. Before we get started, I wanted to see if there were any questions or concerns that you wanted to address immediately about Adam's schooling or his behavior at home or anything like that.
I do have a few concerns I'd like to discuss with you.
Awesome.
The first one is when Adam comes home from school, I'm having a really hard time getting him to sit down and do his homework.
I believe that. So I think that's hard for a lot of parents, especially as he's continuing to get older and that the workload is getting more. I can only imagine how frustrating that is for him to come home and still not want to do his homework, and then you have to get him to try and things like that. That can be really hard. Something that we have put in place at school is kind of a reward system, and this could be really effective at home based on what he likes to do at home and what he likes to play with or things like that. Have you gone in the direction of positive reinforcement or anything like that to try and get him to continue to work on his homework?
No, that's something we haven't tried.
Okay, awesome. Well, maybe at the end of the conference we could talk about the reward system that we have here in place at school and if this could be put in place at home and if this would be effective for you guys at all or what you guys are willing to try in order to get his homework situation figured out, because especially as he gets older, it's going to continue to be more and that could be frustrating. So we'll definitely come back to this and have a conversation about it and see what could be put in place to help.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, do you have any other concerns that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, Adam is in 7th grade, but isn't on grade level. Is this going to affect where we choose to send him to high school?
That's an awesome question. As far as where you would choose to place him in high school, that is completely up to you and your husband. There are obviously like some suggestions that we could give you within the district and things like that. Like you said, he's not on grade level as far as his academics go. So, I mean, based on your guys' opinion of him being the inclusion in the general ed classroom and things like that, that would have a large decision based on where you are going to send him to high school. There are many different options that you have in regards to your location and where he could go. We are going to kind of get into where he's at on grade level for math and the grade level work that he is completing compared to the 7th grade work that his typically developing peers are completing. So we'll get into that and hopefully that'll clear up some questions that you might have. Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that covered my questions for right now.
Cool, awesome. So before we got into his actual assessment results and the things that he's been doing in the classroom, I kind of wanted to just talk on Adam and his behavior in the classroom and things like that. As far as his behavior during the assessment, which we did the Brigance assessment, and we did the math portion of this assessment, so I just wanted to talk about his cooperation and things like that when we did complete it. He was very, very cooperative, which was awesome, which made the assessment go a lot smoother and faster than I had anticipated. He was persistent throughout the entire thing. He had his attention span was awesome. He concentrated on the work that I was giving him and, again, was unbelievably cooperative when completing it. He seemed confident in the answers that he was writing down. For the work that he wasn't quite sure of, he at least tried his best and wrote down the answers that he thought were correct. And then I just continued to tell him good job, things like that, and he kept working. He had a great attitude throughout the entire thing, and this carries over into the classroom. He has a great attitude majority of the time. He has a really strong work ethic, which is awesome and setting a good example for the younger kids in the class and showing them how he works through these problems. And he's also a great leader in the classroom, which I'm sure you're happy to hear because I know behavior had been an issue previously. So off of that, now I wanted to kind of go into the assessment results that we got from the Brigance. First, I wanted to comment on his strengths in relation to the Brigance assessment. So I tested him in 2 different areas, and that's in algebra and numbers and operations. As far as algebra goes, his strengths were addition and subtraction problems. So this was single digit, double digit, 3-digit problems. He did great in those. Additionally, he did great in word problems with addition and subtraction. This was 1-step problems, 2-step problems. He did a really good job. For patterns, they're repeating patterns. He did great in both the shapes and the numbers portion of this. He was confident in what he was writing down, and he was excited to do it. Also, the input-output table, so this is addition and subtraction and different rules and things like that, he did great with. Another strength of his in algebra is multiplication and division. And I know he's worked a ton on this at home, but his skip counting patterns, he's memorized his skip counting patterns from 2 to 12. So this has made the multiplication and division process a lot easier for him. And it's kind of become a more memorization thing than anything, which has been awesome. As far as number and operations, that portion of the assessment, he did really well in coins, as far as describing the relationship among coins and dollar bills and the values of coin collections, values of coins collections. This has been something that we've worked on really heavily in the classroom because this has such a large portion to do with his life skills and things like that, and being able to work through different word problems with coins and things like that. He's done super well in. Another strength of his in the numbers and operations assessment was fractions. He could read and write fractions. He was able to write equivalent fractions. He related it to pizza a lot of the time when he was talking aloud, which was awesome. So that was cool to see. So moving forward, he also had a few difficulties that I wanted to talk about in relation to the assessment that I gave him. For algebra, and a difficulty of his was the multiplication and division patterns in a series. So describing and extending multiplication and division number patterns in a series, as well as in and output tables. He only completed 1 of the 5 problems in the pattern in a series and 2 of the 5 problems in the input-output tables. He expressed a lot of difficulty throughout these, and I told him to just do his best, and then he worked through them. But I didn't want to push him too hard because sometimes he can become very frustrated when completing this work, and I did not want him to lose his concentration and things like that. Another area where he had difficulty in the algebra portion of the assessment was translating words into expressions with variables, which this is 4th grade work. So as far as his placement in algebra, I would say he's between a 3rd and 4th grade level, which is great because he has made so much progress over the last couple of years, and it's awesome seeing him complete all of this work. For the numbers and operations portion of it, the difficulties, he had a lot of issues with decimals. This is kind of where I started to see him shut down and ask for more help. Again, I just asked him to try his best, and he did try to complete some of the problems, but he also left some blank. So writing decimals in standard, word, and expanded forms to tenths, he got 3 of the 9 questions correctly, and then writing decimals in standard, word, and expanded form to hundredths, he did not get any of those questions correctly. And throughout this portion of the assessment, he started to talk about how he didn't know how to interpret decimals and things like that, and how he would rather work with fractions. So that's kind of where we stopped the assessment with that portion of it. So in the numbers and operations department, like I said for algebra, he's kind of completing 3rd to 4th grade work, which again, I am so proud to see him doing because prior to this, we were having a hard time even getting him to complete any work, period. So this has been great. Do you have any concerns related to the information that I just gave you?
No, it's so great to hear how good he's doing in the classroom because this was such a huge concern of ours. In his earlier schooling years, behavior has been such a big issue with him, so it's good to hear how cooperative he was. Also, it is great to hear that he is moving forward in math since the more challenging concepts frustrate him. I'm proud of all the progress he's made, but what do we need to do to keep moving forward?
That's an awesome question. So I started to think about what we are going to do at school in order to move forward, and I kind of created some rough IEP goals that I feel would be appropriate for him, and those are regarding decimals and multiplication and division. Because, like I said earlier, these could be related to a lot of life skills things, and getting him to complete this work and really just doing the next step and all of the things that he's learning will be what we kind of start to focus on at school, and that'll be related to the homework that we send home and things like that. So we'll be sure to keep you in the loop of what we're doing. And that should be it. Great.
Awesome. Thank you
Cool.
so much.
Thanks for meeting with me.
You're welcome.